All right, so today we're going to talk about adding functions. And so functions, polynomial functions, is basically anything that has letters, numbers, anything along those lines. You should have learned that in Algebra 1. All right, so we got two functions here. It says consider f of x and g of x. And remember, f of x and g of x, they're just fancy terms of saying y. What it's saying is that this f of x is this polynomial function. Okay? So it is 2x squared plus 3x plus 2. This g of x is this g of x function. And it says it wants me to add f of x plus g of x. So basically it wants me to take all of this right here, this 2x squared plus 3x plus 2. And it wants me to add it to this g of x, which is 4x squared minus x. Notice I lined up my like terms. Remember, like terms, the same letter, same number, same exponents. Okay. So it wants me to take these two functions and add them together. And remember, when you add like terms or subtract them, you basically add their coefficients together. So here I would do 2x squared plus 4x squared. 2 plus 4 is 6. Then the x squared just stays the same. Positive 3x, remember there's a 1 in front of that x there for the coefficient. If you don't see 1, you're always to assume it is 1. So 3x minus, it's basically plus negative 1x or minus 1x is 2x. And then this plus 2 doesn't have anything below it, so it's just going to come down, so it's plus 2. So my final answer is 6x squared plus 2x plus 2. Okay. It's going to do the same thing, but this time they want us to take those two functions and subtract them. So let me go ahead and get my two functions again. So it's f of x. So f of x is the first one. That's 2x squared plus 3x plus 2. And this time they want me to subtract. So they want me to subtract the 4x squared minus 1x. Okay. Remember, when you're subtracting, what you're really doing is you're changing all the signs. So what I'm going to do is this is going to become positive, this will become negative, and this will become positive. Okay, so now I'm just adding by the opposite of what it was. All right, so same thing. This time we're going to do 2 plus negative 4, or 2 minus 4, which is negative 2x squared. 3x plus 1x is positive 4x. And again, that plus 2 is just going to come down. Nothing happens to it because remember, you only change the signs at the bottom. So my final answer is negative 2x squared plus 4x plus 2. So here's another one. Okay, so it says it wants 2, and remember this is being multiplied to that, so it's 2 times f of x. So it's going to look like this. 2 times my f of x function, which is 2x squared plus 3x plus 2. And I got that again from the very, very top where it told me. And it wants me to add it to 3 times that g of x. So 3 times that g of x, which is 4x squared minus x or minus 1x, however you want to write it. All right, so the first thing we got to do is we got to distribute here. So I'm going to take this 2 and multiply it to each one of these. So 2 times 2x squared is going to give me 4x squared. 2 times 3x is going to give me 6x. And then 2 times 4 there is going to give me, or 2 times 2, which will give me 4. Apologize for that. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing on the back end. We're going to take the 3 and multiply it to the 4. So it's going to be positive 12x squared. And then positive 3 times negative 1x, which would be negative 3x. Okay, and then it's just combining like terms. So I have a couple like terms here. So my first set of like terms is 4x squared plus this positive 12x squared. So we're going to add them together. Okay, so 4x squared plus 12x squared is 16x squared. Then we have another set of like terms here. We have this 6x here and this negative 3x here. So 6x minus 3x, that's going to give me positive 3x. Positive 3x. And then this 4 right here is not like anything, so it's just going to go on the back end plus 4. So my final answer is 16x squared plus 3x plus 4. All right. So let's go ahead and do another example here. We got some fractions that we're dealing with. Okay, so they give us f of t. So f of t here is this entire function right here of 1/6 t to the third minus 8t squared. So that's first right here. That's the first one. So I'm going to write that one down. So I got 1/6 t cubed minus 8t squared plus 13t minus 9. They want me to add, so I'm going to put a plus sign, this g of t function, g of t, right here, which is this entire thing right here of 5t squared. So we got to line our like terms up. So 5t squared is going to go under that negative 8t squared. 7/3t to the third is going to go under the t to the third. Negative 4t will go under the 13t. And 11/2 is going to go on the back end. So there's fractions here. So we got to remember how to do fractions. Okay, so we have to add these two right here first. Okay, so we're going to have, I'm going to go a little bit lower. So you're going to have 1/6 plus 7/3. Remember, to add fractions have to have a common denominator. So to get a common denominator, we're going to take this and multiply this by 2. So what we have is 1/6 plus 14/6, and then you add your tops only. So this would be 15/6, which then we can reduce. Okay, so we can divide both the top and bottom by 3. So it is really 5/2. So this is going to come out as 5/2 t to the third. And then we have to do these two next. Negative 8t squared plus 5t squared. So negative 8 plus 5 is negative 3. And we're going to bring down that t squared. Next one is 13t minus 4t. So 13 minus 4. Well, 13 minus 4 is positive 9. So it's 9t. And then I have this negative 9. And then this negative right here, this negative 9. And this negative 11/t2. So negative 9. I'm going to make it over 1 because any whole number can be written over 1. Minus 11/2. So we're going to multiply this side by 2 to get that common denominator. So that's going to give me negative 18/2 minus 11/2. So I can add those tops. Negative 18 minus 11 is negative 30/2, which comes out as negative 15. So this will become negative 15 on the back end. So there's your final answer. Okay, what I want you to do, I want you to go ahead and try this one on your own, the f of x minus h of x. When you are finished, it will pop up with a question. Go ahead and select the answer you think it is. And then once you are done, I will post the answers on this page. Okay, so there's the answer you should have gotten for this one. If you did not get that or you did not understand that, please ask me the questions tomorrow, and I will go over it with you. Okay. The other thing that this unit talks about is profit and profit revenue. So the profit revenue equation is as follows. It's profit equals revenue minus cost. Sometimes you'll see it like this: P of x equals R of x minus C of x. So that is the first formula that you need to add to your formula sheet. So go ahead and make sure you do that. I'll give you a couple minutes. So go ahead and pause it. Make sure you add that to your formula sheet. All right, so let's go ahead and do the next problem. So this says the cost function for a company to produce armbands is C of x. So that's important. So they give us our C of x. They give us our C of 2x plus 5,000. X is the number of armbands. They tell us the company sells the armbands for $7 each. So that means that the R of x, okay, so they give us C of x. C of x is equal to 2x plus 5,000. They tell us that each armband they sell for $7 each. So that means that our R of x, our revenue, what we're selling them for, is going to be 7 times x, because we don't know the number of armbands that we have. So let's use our profit equation, which is P of x equals r of x minus c of x. And let's go ahead and plug in all of our numbers that we know. So we know p of x. And sometimes that happens. If that happens, just hit undo and redo it. P of x will equal, okay, so it's 7x minus our c of x, which is 2x plus 5,000. But that's in parentheses. Why? Because it's after this minus sign here. Okay, so we need to distribute that minus sign to both of those. So that gives us 7x minus 2x minus 5,000. So we only have these two terms right here that we can combine. So it's going to be 5x minus 5,000. That is our profit that we would earn right there. We don't know the number because we don't know the number of our mans. All right, so let's continue. All right, so here's another one I want you to try. Okay, so go ahead and read the problem. They give you two volumes, one for a smaller box and one for a bigger box. And they want you to find how much bigger the larger box is than the smaller box. So we'll give you a couple minutes, go ahead and work that out, put some answer choices up, and we'll see if you're right. All right, there's the answer you should have gotten. Basically, you take the volume of that larger box and you subtract that smaller box from it to see how much space is left in between them. What happens is those extra thirds will cancel out, and then you just combine your like terms, and I've color-coded everything for you here. So if you have any questions on that one, go ahead and ask me tomorrow in class. All right, the last one is this beat the test. You'll see a lot of these in our notes. I just want to give you this practice problem, and I'll give you the answer at the end after you're done. And if you have any questions on how to do it, just ask me tomorrow in class, and we'll go over it. Okay, so go ahead and take some time, answer that question, and then I'll display the answer in a second. Okay, so the correct answer was C. So they're basically asking, it says, when are they equivalent? Equivalent just means when are they equal? Okay, so test them all out, figure out which ones came out the same, and then it ended up being number 1 and number 3 when you did the mathematics. Okay. All right, so if you have any questions on adding and subtracting polynomial functions, just let me know. We'll go over it tomorrow in class. You can come ask me any questions you want. Have a good rest of your day.